So this is going to be VEX VRC, a strategic, or VEX VRC, or excuse me, that should be VEX IQ, a strategic approach. Sorry about that. Ooh, 2 people see in the waiting room. Perfect. Admit, admit. That is so convenient. Alrighty. So to kind of begin with, ooh, click. There we go. Yes, it's click. So to kind of give an overview of what we're going to be doing, our overall goals, that's going to be learning how to break down a VEX IQ game. And when we say break down, we mean more than just how to play the game. We kind of mean how to look at the game for its dynamic and kind of what's going on beyond just like scoring points. We're going to learn how to form strategies. And these are going to be more than just kind of like, score points. Whoever gets the most points wins. It's going to be having, meaningful reason in what we're doing and understanding where does that come from. And then practice critical thinking and be more prepared for next season. Definitely critical thinking and, this type of strategic approach gets better as you practice. So I definitely encourage you guys to, be active in this and maybe asking a lot of questions throughout it. And I, hope you guys feel comfortable answering. And if not, that's fine. I'll just be a regular day where I talk to myself and kind of move on. Yeah. So the approach we're going to be taking for achieving these goals is we're going to try and break down one VEX IQ game per meeting. And this is kind of designed to give us the most practice breaking games down. You can't really understand what's going on until you try it a few times. So we're going to do one per meeting. At least that's the goal. We're going to try and read through these rules. We don't have to read through, all of the rules for every VEX IQ game ever, but we're definitely going to try and hit, the main points that help us define the game and help us understand what the game dynamic is. We're going to watch some gameplay, and it's definitely not like, spending all day watching gameplay, but I feel like it's a really good way to kind of better your strategic approach is by watching other people and seeing if we can critique them or understand what they did well that we could also do well. And we're also going to be understanding why some approaches are better than others. Definitely that's part of like forming the strategy. You might wonder why can't I just, go in there, score some points, come back a winner? It takes a lot more than just, wanting to score points or knowing that you're going to score points. So there is that. So yeah. So today's plan. Our plan for today is we're going to go over some basics, common mistakes that I see people who do VEX IQ. My recommended overall approach, just, if you don't know, I'll go ahead and share it with you. We're going to do a breakdown of a game, and then we're going to have some discussion. So common mistakes I see. A lot of the time, things I'll see is like people will watch the game video and immediately decide the robot. They'll say, hey, this is a really cool game. I see that you got to pick stuff up and put it down. I think I'm going to build like a 4-bar. I think I'm going to build a 6-bar. And I'm going to do this, and this way. People get really caught up in, looking at the game, being excited, and then immediately deciding their plans. And although it's good to be like, strike when the iron is hot and be really fast to get that advantage, it's also very important to make sure that we're using our time wisely. Any time we expend doing something, we cannot get it back. And so we want to be really cognizant of that. We can't just, immediately see a video and say, hey, this looks like a cool game. I think I can do this with this robot. So let's go ahead and build this robot. Deciding on a design before a strategy. So people will do this, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the watching a game video and deciding the robot. People will just kind of say, oh, I think this game would be really good with a roller intake, and I think 4-wheel sounds pretty good, and we're going to build a 4-bar and a claw. And although those are strategies or those are designs that have been successful in the past for other games, we don't have any evidence to support that they would be successful for this game. And we don't necessarily know how we're going to go about implementing it. And even more importantly, why we're implementing it that way. Everything you do should have a reason behind it. You shouldn't just kind of say, hey, I just like claws, so I'm going to build a claw this year. We should definitely have a definitive reason behind what we do. And that reason is our strategy. And that strategy will define everything we do, everything we build. Does that make sense? Feel free to stop me anytime if it doesn't.
Just a question, what game did you win at? Or sorry, first of all, what robotics thing? Wait, I just moved. What robotics? Did you win at the middle? Why am I forgetting what the types is? I'm struggling with English. So, as I was saying, what type I'm assuming you're using metal when you won.
I'm sorry, say that again?
What type of robot
Hello? You're like breaking up.
didn't go better. Didn't you say that on the thing that you won something or something?
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
so I guess that's my fault. I should have definitely begun this with like a introduction to who I am. So my name's Afnan. You'll see me a lot at a lot of the VEX Robotics competitions. I've been involved with VEX Robotics for about 8, 9, 10, 11, so for about like 9 years now. And so throughout my 9 years, I've competed primarily in VRC VEX as well as VEX U, the university platform. And so I've seen a lot of everything from, middle school robotics, high school robotics, collegiate robotics, and whatever comes in between. And in terms of, I guess, like accolades, let's see. So I've been a World Division champion twice, World Division Design Award winner 3 or 4 times, World Division finalist like 2 or 3 times, I think, 2 or 3 times. And I have them in front of me. One sec. World Division semifinalists, 2017 or something. Yeah, a lot of stuff. So I stay really active and really involved in the VEX Robotics community. One thing that I guess is really important to press forward is, I would not consider myself a VEX IQ expert, but I would definitely consider myself knowledgeable about the ways to approach strategies. And what you'll notice is that the higher echelons of performance and competition for VEX IQ, you see the parallels to VRC and VEX U. And kind of breaking that down and looking at it through the same lens shows us how we can approach it. So I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, if anyone else has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to answer them. We've got like an hour and we're only 15 minutes in, so definitely a lot of room to talk. Okay, so deciding on a strategy before you design, not really having a defined goal or justification when you build. A lot of the time, people just like oh, like I said before, I like 4 bars, I like claws, let's go ahead and build one. Like that, although it might be fun to build, and it's a great thing for people to do. It keeps your hands busy. You definitely need justification for what you're building. Just because your robot needs wheels, that doesn't mean you just put them anywhere. You need to be kind of calculated in that decision, because if you put your wheels too far forward, you might tip backwards. If you put your wheels too narrow in, your robot might not be very steady. If you put them too far out, it might be hard to drive and control. And so these type of decisions that you make, although they might not be major things, like, yeah, of course all robots need wheels, they need to be calculated decisions. You should have some sort of justification behind every piece of your robot, because if there's no justification for it, it's really possible that there is a better alternative to doing the same thing you did that might result in better scores. I hope that makes sense. Trying to be different for the sake of being different. So I've seen a lot of that where people will be like, well, and you see a lot more of this in VRC, where people will just say, there is this design and it works, but I would much rather, build something totally different. It's okay to build different things, because innovation is at the core of what we're doing. But it's also important to understand that your justification can't just be it's different. It has to be different and better. It has to be, a cut above what the current regular understood thing is, or else you really just spent a lot of time developing something that, although is super innovative and super cool, super new, it doesn't necessarily benefit you as much as you would hope. There are only so many ways to move forward. You can use wheels and stuff, but you don't need to invent some sort of method of jet propulsion when wheels already exist and they do the job very well. If jet propulsion is the way that you see is boom, it's going to make me so much better, then go ahead, chase that if you can justify it being better. But don't chase something just for the sake of saying, hey, my robot is different than all the other robots. Not being familiar with the first robot, VEX IQ bot. So a lot of the time you'll notice when you go to a tournament, you can get anything from the world's best robot to something that was put together 5 minutes ago. And that that type of gap in between is rather large. So it's really advantageous to be familiar with like those first robots. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, let me see if I can kind of pull it up. So you've got your IQ clutch, you've got IQ flex, stretch, you've got Ali, Ike, Link, Slick, Armbot, VREX, Clawbot. All these are like robots that have their instruction with them already, right? And so you might be wondering, well, if I'm going to build my own robot to be better than all of these robots, why would I care what these robots look like? And so that's like the reason you would care about what they look like is because, oops, excuse me, did not mean to click that. Oops. So the reason you care is because VEX IQ is played with two teams, right? It's going to be you and somebody else. And it's really possible that the person you're going to be playing with doesn't have a robot that is as good as yours. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, but you don't know. But what you do know is that these are instructions available to everybody. So it's possible that your alliance partner has one of these robots, right? They might be very possible that your alliance partner, the first time they're doing robotics, period. They could be a new school, they could be a new program, they could be a program that doesn't have a lot of time or development or whatever the case might be. They're not always going to be at the same kind of position as you. So you want to be proactive in this, and you want to know what these other robots look like. Because if they're going to be your partner, you want to know what they can do, right? If somebody you're going to be doing your next teamwork match with says, hey, this is a robot and it's clutch, then you're familiar with what clutch can do, you already know not to tell them to say, try something outside of their scope. Does that make sense? I'm gonna take that as a yeah. Okay, cool. I was like, I'm gonna take that silence as a yes. But yeah, so remember, VEX IQ is like this is like a two robot scenario. So you can't just say that my robot will be the only thing there. You have to account for other robots that could be there. And that means everything from the world champion robot to just technically has 4 wheels and moves robot. Assuming your plan will work 100% of the time or at 100%, you have to understand that it's a really all the games that VEX Robotics makes are very dynamic, and things can change kind of rapidly. So you should have a plan. You should always have a plan. What's up? Oh,
nothing. No? I was just dissing my friend.
Okay. So you should understand that you're going to have a plan, and it's always good to have that, but definitely like be ready for there to be some change. You should have a plan A and maybe a plan B and C for when stuff goes wrong, because the more you can think of before something happens, the more time you have to react, right? So the best way I can think about it is like when you get dressed in the morning, right? You wake up, you go to your closet, and I'm like really guilty of doing this. I'll just kind of stare at the clothes in my closet, and I'll be like, I wore that shirt yesterday, but I really like this shirt today, but it's kind of sunny, so like I waste like easily 10 minutes just like staring at clothes, not doing any work, but just staring at clothes. Could have made breakfast, I could have gotten dressed, I could have like brushed my teeth, I could have done so many things. But if the night before I got there, chat, yes, am I lagging? Oof, wait,
kind of breaking up, but it's like not that much.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll talk a lot slower, so it's like not as bad. Okay, so but yeah, so like if I spend so much time, maybe like 10 minutes the night before I go to sleep saying, okay, tomorrow let me check the weather. Oh, it's gonna be really sunny. Okay. And the temperature is gonna be nice. I have that information on hand. I can easily say, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna wear this, short sleeve shirt, I'm gonna wear like shorts, I'm gonna wear like sandals. I can make those decisions before the actual time, so that I save a lot of time in the morning just saying, hey, I already know what to do. I can just put these clothes on and I can get ready. I've saved 10 minutes in that time, right? So now if you take that kind of analogy and bring it to VEX IQ, you can think of, well, if I knew what to do, if I already made a plan before this match as to what to do if my robot breaks or if my alliance partner stops working, you can just execute that plan. You don't have to spend time panicking or saying, oh no, what do I do, right? And then not paying attention to time. That's a really big thing. Everything in VEX IQ kind of revolves around time. To score points, it takes time. You understand that you can only drive for like 35 seconds max. So if you don't pay attention to the time that goes on, you're going to end up in a position where you have this like master plan to score all the points, but you didn't realize that scoring all those points takes you 5 minutes when you only have like a limited amount of time, right? So paying attention to those type of details is very, very, very big. If you're not the person who's actively driving the robot during that teamwork match, you should definitely be helping the person drive by telling them, hey, we've only got 5 seconds left. Oh, three more seconds on the clock, or you have enough time to score these points, or we need to go to plan B. You're kind of helping guide them as to make their decisions. You don't need to tell them, hey, drive forward, pick this up, put that down, go over here, go over there. But you need to give them enough information so that they can make those decisions themselves. I hope that makes sense. Boom. Only having one plan. Yeah. So when you're competing, it's very dynamic, as I said. And only having one plan means you're ready when everything goes good. When you're firing on all cylinders, everything's hitting. But a lot of the time, that's not the case, right? You could have plan A for when your robot is performing and when your partner robot is doing its absolute best, or it's a great robot. But what happens if your plan A was to pick up the cube and put it on the platform, but your alliance partner doesn't have a lift? They can't pick anything up, right? That means you would need to go to some sort of other plan, right? You have to kind of take what assumptions you make and prepare for that. So you can have plan A that says, hey, if our robot can do this and their robot can do that, we should play the game this way. But if our robot can do this and their robot can't do that, what do we do? How do we kind of practice? How do we prepare for that? So you want to have those things in place. Additionally, you want to have something in place that says, like, if everything is going good, but then this happens bad, or these type of things happen, what do we do? It'll tell us that, like, what it helps you do is during the match, when you're going and you're picking up the cube and all of a sudden your robot's arm falls off and you lose a lot of time because of that. Well, you already made a plan that said, okay, if we lose a lot of time because of this, we're going to have our partner do this, and that. It like helps you be a lot faster in your decision making and a lot more calculated and prepared. Not iterating. A lot of times people will say, hey, I really like this robot. With some more practice, this is going to be the thing right here. This is going to be the best robot. And it's possible that practice does make perfect, right? Being more practice is good. But if you're not iterating, that robot might not get any better. It's really possible that that robot has some physical like problems, such as the lift not being strong enough, or and not being sturdy enough. And you not iterating is preventing you from getting better, right? Iterating is the process of us like taking what we have and getting a little better and a little more and a little more and a little more and a little more over and over again until you go from here all the way up to here. You span that gap step by step. It doesn't have to be overnight. It definitely takes time. But if you get better every single day, you think about how much you're doing in comparison to people who aren't getting better every single day, right? People who aren't getting better every single day stay where they are, and then you're slowly creeping up and getting ahead. And by that same kind of train of thought, if you're not getting better every day, by comparison, you're kind of getting worse every day, right? If everyone else is getting better, they're kind of like accelerating past you every single day, and you're kind of staying at your pace, you're going to end up falling behind. So you definitely want to be cognizant of that throughout the season. And so, like, what does it mean to iterate? I've got this little like thing here. Definitely took that from Google, but I really like the diagram because it breaks down the important things, right? Identifying the problem is, realizing that this is whatever VEX IQ game, and I want to play this game to do these things. Exploring is looking at all the different possibilities, and then designing is when you've decided which possibility you want to take, which strategy you want to go. Okay, I'm now going to act on my design. I'm going to create the plan I made. I'm going to test it out, try it out, and then I'm going to make it better, right? And to make it better, we do a lot of testing, we do a lot of practice, and we say, hey, although this robot is really good at picking up cubes, a lot of the time they fall down when we try and put them on the platform, and that's going to hurt us later. So we should make this better, and you go back and do it all over again, right? So our first answer isn't always the best answer, but it can help us get better. It can definitely get us to a position that we weren't at before and help us get to that, position of being the best of the best. We shouldn't easily be satisfied. And it's really good to, have like small goals that you can hit that'll help you say, hey, I did it. I achieved what I wanted to achieve, but we shouldn't just stop once we've hit there. Like I said previously, you want to make sure you're getting better every single second, because when you don't, by comparison, other people who are doing that are going to pass you. So it's good to be happy in the moment of, yes, we scored 50 points, but you should know that you're also capable of scoring 60 points, of scoring 70, 80, 90. You can score so many more points if you just keep pushing, And you're never really done getting better. You should understand that, there's always room to get better. Yes, you can max out the game, and it happens really common in VEX IQ where like they max out the game, but that's kind of your goal, right? Once you max out the game, well, how much time did you have left? Could you have done that faster? Keep pushing and pushing until you've cleared the game with 5 seconds left, with 10 seconds left, whatever it might be, right? Oh, definitely got a really bad lag. Oh no. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it just like kind of like, and then you're good.
Okay. Where did I leave off? Let's try that.
No. It was only for like 3 seconds.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for letting me know, because I definitely cannot tell. But yeah. So here's what we're gonna try and do, guys. So my recommended approach, right? When you see a game, you watch the video, and that means actively, right? It's one thing to just go, oh, these are some cool pictures I'm seeing, but it's another thing to say, hey, wait, that's a stack of 5 balls there. That's a stack of 4 balls there. Look at the field. Oh, I see that, we're gonna have to do some picking up and putting down in this game. Kind of do some annotation in your head when you're looking at the game. So determine which components might be key in the game. So this year we saw that, you can get 20 points just by taking a cube and putting it on a platform. And there are 3 of those. So that's like 60 points. So it might be really important to make sure you can do that, right? Doing that type of like active learning, active looking. Figure out the type of game. So in VEX IQ, we've seen, the games where the object of the game is to pick up an object and put it down. We've seen games where it's to move it from here to there. We've seen games where it's been, can I do a pull-up? Can I organize? Can I stack? We want to kind of figure out, what does this game want me to do? And then make strategies and plans and designs that can do that the best. And then look to see key changes from previous years. You definitely want to like see what you've been noticing from previous years and try and make a comparison of that. Because sometimes small things will change or big things will change. And you want to be paying attention when you watch the video as to that. We always want to read the rules. It's really important for us to know how to play the game. I couldn't tell you the number of times where, this is in VRC, where someone's come up to the field and said, wait, I can't do that? Did I just get disqualified? I'm like, yeah, well, unfortunately you did, because you broke a rule. We have to be really familiar with the rules so that we know what is and is not allowed, right? Because when we know what is and is not allowed, we can take advantage of that. So you want to find rules that you can take advantage of. Things that say, hey, you can only do this way, or, it is not legal to do this, or it is legal to do that. Find those little rules that say, how you can do that, and make sure you take advantage of them. And we're going to go through the rules later to show an example of that. Always note the point values, right? This game, all VEX IQ games are like doing a little math problem. You want to see, hey, if I can get 10 points by putting these cubes in these corners, but 20 points by putting these cubes up here, and 1 point with the balls or 2 points with the balls, you can do some math to figure out, well, there are ways that you can just always win if you just do the math for it. Estimate the effort for each point. You want to, when you're looking at the rules and it says like, oh, 10 points for this and 20 points for that, well, there's a reason those things are worth so many points, right? Normally it's harder to get the points for things that are a little harder to do. So it's hard. You get 20 points for putting a cube on a pedestal or on a platform, but it's kind of harder to do that than just push a cube, right? So we want to kind of keep in mind, are these things that we physically can do? is this within our reach? Try to understand the dynamic and the key challenges of the game. So with this game, like, our dynamic and key thing is, well, like this year we saw for Squared Away, we saw how the cubes, like the blue cubes, would begin on the red side, and you'd have to kind of drag them over to the blue goal zone on the other side. So you might be able to kind of understand that a key part of this game is going to be, working with your partner to take the cubes on opposite sides and kind of drag them past each other without running into each other. That could be like a key thing you could figure out, because if you can successfully do that, you can get 10, 20, 30, 40 points without much effort, right? And then always do the math, right? So you've watched the video, you've read the rules, you know how much things are, where are all of these points on the field? Okay. And I could get another 10 over here and 2 over here. Okay. Ooh, am I still breaking up?
It's just like random for me. Maybe it's not for everyone.
Oh, internet lagging. Uh-oh. Dang, this is what happens when your brother plays Animal Crossing, man. He's probably taking all the internet just so he can like play with some animals.
Well,
It's okay. All right. Well, thank you for letting me know. I'll definitely slow down then. Avoid that. Okay. But yeah, so figure out where all the points are and see what you can do. And then what does it take to max out? This is a really big question. I don't think I've ever seen an IQ game that doesn't get maxed out. There's some team somewhere in some country in someone's basement who says, "Hey, we can get all the points possible in this game." And if they can do it, you can do it, right? Like, it just takes that strategy or that understanding and that practice to say, "Hey, I know that this many points is worth this much, and it takes this much time to do this, so we should do things like this, this, and this," right? Doing things in a specific order can help you get all those points. So if you do the math, you could figure out, this is how we max out. Does that make sense? All right. So also when you're doing the math, okay. So the lag is just like intermittently. So okay, that makes sense. So what we'll do is to like do the math, you got to have a few scenarios in your head, right? It's really easy for you to just kind of sit there and say, okay, let me sit down, let me draw the field, and let me draw some steps. So, like the first thing we do in the match is this, and then the second thing we do in the match is this, and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And if you sit down and you enumerate these things, if you sit down and you enumerate you sit down and you like enumerate these different possibilities, you can have an idea of, well, if I do this step and this step and this step in this order, it'll take me 15 seconds. But if I do it in this other order, it'll take me 10 seconds. So you want to do the 10-second strategy, right? You want to kind of like take turns like mentally playing the game so that you save time, because a lot of the time people don't know what's good or what's bad until they go to their first tournament, right? They go to their first tournament and they say, "Hey, well, this robot did so good. Obviously, that's the best design." Or obviously that's the best thing. And it might be the best design. It might just be that they've spent some time thinking about what order to get their points in. Or they spent some time saying, "Hey, let's sit down and look at the game so we can understand how the game is supposed to be played." And with that knowledge, you would almost be like you've gone to a tournament before then. Where like the most knowledge you get is when you go to a tournament, because you see how other people play, and you say, "Oh, okay, well, I didn't know, I didn't even think about them doing this." But if you spend like 15 minutes before that tournament just sitting down and like walking through this hypothetical match you're having in your head, you could be a lot more prepared for the actual match, right? You would understand that, oh, I knew they were going to do that, and I predicted that this would be this type of way. A lot of this is doing the work before you get to the event, so that when you are at the event, you can be at peak performance. So yeah, when you do the math, you also get a feel of like the point values associated with tasks, and So what it means to get a feel for the point values is to know that, hey, for example, this year, the balls are worth about 1 to 2 points, right? And well, 1 to 2 points is a number, but what does that mean to you? Is that worth it? Is it not worth it? Is it good? Is it bad? What scenarios is it worth it? What scenarios isn't it worth it? So when you run a few of these hypothetical scenarios in your head, you get literal match scores that you can look at and say, oh, well, when I did this plan or I tried this walkthrough, I got 15 more points, but I didn't use the balls. So maybe the balls aren't worth it. And you can get a feel for like how important are these points. Make predictions. So like I said, try and figure out how other people would play, sit down and do a few walkthroughs, because that gives you that sort of game knowledge, right? Like the amount of knowledge you gain after maybe the third tournament you go to is really different than the amount of knowledge you had at your first tournament, right? At your first tournament, you're kind of like wide-eyed. You're looking like, oh, I'm just here to learn or see how other people would play. But by your third tournament, you go, oh yeah, so the standard plan is to do, the platforms first and then switch sides with the cubes and then get the balls at the last second or something. That's something you understand how to do. But if you can kind of sit down and try and figure out how other people would play by doing these walkthroughs, then you could have that level of knowledge at your first event. And that gives you a big advantage over other teams that didn't do that, right? Because they don't know what to expect, but you do. And try to see what synergy is possible. Remember, VEX IQ is like a teamwork challenge. You are trying to work with another robot together. So understand that, push spot fires and also and can easily play with the ball and do all this work. So you want to
Afnan, you're doing the robot right now.
Yeah. So I'll say that again. So with the synergies, you want to understand and always, man. It's see what's in see that they just push around the objects and breaking up. Okay, am I better now?
Yeah, you are.
I'm better now. Okay, cool. So yeah, there's so many devices going on in my house. It's probably just everyone's working from home. So I'm sorry about that, guys, but I'll try and make it better next time. But yeah, for now, at least what we can see with the synergies are understanding that other robots are going to be everything from scoring all the points to just pushing around the little points they can. And you should see that, if your robot is in whatever position it's in, let's say your robot is the picker-upper, and all its main goal is to pick up the green cube or the green cubes and put them on the platforms, right? If that's your goal, then you need to understand what is the role of the other robot and what is the role of your robot, right? If you can establish these roles and say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to be the best at picking up the cubes and putting them on the platform, and we need our alliance partner to be the best at picking up the balls off the ground and putting them on top of the cubes, right? That's a synergy. That's how you guys work together. So if you can understand what type of synergy you need to win the game, you can understand what type of robot you need, right? If you know that a successful synergy is having only one robot do the balls and the other robot do the platform, and both robots able to do the kind of cubes on the ground, then you know that, okay, if that's a synergy that you've strategized to be the best, that means your robot needs to be one of those two robots, right? If those are the two robots you see winning the game, then your robot needs to be one of the two, or else you might not win the game. Does that make sense? No questions on that? Are we good? Okay. So yeah, form a strategy by sharing ideas with others. Yeah. So when you kind of share ideas, that's the best way you can form strategies. Because in your head, you might have some idea that's the best to you, but when you share it with somebody else, then they could say, oh, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Going back and forth on these strategies is how we get a lot of back and forth. Like, for example, if I was working with Matthew Reichley and I said, well, what if we what if we just totally ignored the balls because they're only worth 1 or 2 points, but the cubes are worth like so many other points. What if we just did that? Well, right, we could be like, hey, that's a good idea, but if we get 2 points per ball and there's 7 and we can put like 35 of them on these things, we could get a lot of points. We could get 70 points off that. Maybe we do want to do them. And I could kind of double guess or double consider that, right? It takes kind of time, but doing that would be a good way to see the wider perspective. Because somewhere inside the collection of everybody's head is the best answer. And your job is to find that best answer. But you're not going to find it just by looking through your eyes. You got to look through your eyes, your friend's eyes, your team's eyes. Everyone's perspective kind of puts in together and shines light on what is the best strategy. So often you'll find the best strategy by working with others and sharing your ideas there. Test your strategy. So this is where you would kind of get the pen and paper or do some practice, maybe do a little bit of prototyping and say, hey, okay, we think the math says that this is the best thing. We've made predictions. This is how it's going to go. Let's try it out. That's where you would say, hey, you'd be like that intermediate stage of testing, seeing if your master plan is a master plan. So this is kind of like building and getting that testing. You can do it on pen and paper, but sometimes it's really helpful to kind of build it out and see what happens. Once you've tested your strategy, you're going to do a bunch of walkthroughs, right? Because you want to now find in what scenario does your strategy not work. Let's say that your master plan is this and you've tested it and it works and you do the math and it works. You want to kind of keep spending some time to see in which scenario will it not work, because that's going to be the scenario where it's going to hurt the most, right? If you have this master plan and it helps you score all these points, then that's great when it works. But in which scenario doesn't it work? If your master plan is, having your partner pick up the cubes and put them on the platform, well, then the scenario where it wouldn't work would be if your partner can't do that, right? And if you find a scenario where your master plan can't work, that means you now need to adjust your plan or your robot or your strategy so that that's no longer a problem, right? Prototype. It's great to do testing. It's great to get that ideas off your head and just see you thought it was possible to do this, but is it literally possible to do that? Can you actually build something that does that? This is where your fantasy will meet the fact. This is where you kind of put all your math to the test. And in theory, if you keep prototyping, your strategy should succeed, right? Because you're building a robot to play the game. You're building a robot to play the game. That's a really important sentence, and it's kind of stupid to say well, yeah, of course I'm going to play this game. I'm not playing a different game. But you have to realize that if you're playing this game, you play by its rules, and you need to figure out how it does it the best. So whatever the best strategy is, you're going to make a robot to play that strategy. It doesn't matter if it takes a month. It doesn't matter if it takes a bunch of time, but you know that that's the way you win the game. So you're going to build the robot to win the game. And then watch videos, make predictions, update your strategy. This is kind of that iterative process, like we mentioned earlier, where you might have the best idea, but then you saw a video where someone did something. And maybe they didn't do a good job of it, but you know how to make it better. Or they did do a great job of it. And you said, hey, what if we tried something like that? You should always kind of be looking around, gathering as much data as you can to make your decisions, because the more data you have, the better decisions you can make. All right, so now what we're going to do is, as an exercise, we're going to break down the squared away game, and it's going to be a little interactive. So definitely feel free to either use the mic or use your keyboard and type some messages and get the ideas flowing. All right, you ready? So I'm going to hit the escape button here. We're going to go to VEX IQ squared away, and let me know if you can hear the audio. We're going to watch the video. I just want to know if you can hear the audio or not.
2019-2020 game. VEX IQ challenge squared away.
No.
I think I
Oh
can
man,
hear it's really, really quiet.
Yeah, it's super faint.
dim a dang. All right, audio is muffled. Tried so hard, man. Dang. All right, let's try. Well, I definitely should have prepared for this, shouldn't I? All right. Ooh, chat. Thank you, Chris. But yeah, let's see. Is that, hey Lance, are you still here?
Yeah, I was just gonna tell you, if you go down to where the microphone is and you click on the arrow up.
1 sec, I'm trying to figure out how to, where's the client? Oh wait, I can just, yes, okay.
So in your Zoom, you can switch
The
audio.
microphone is, yes? Okay, so is that like in the,
So right at the bottom, like it has video and then mute. You click on the arrow next to the mute button on the very bottom of your Zoom.
uh-huh.
And then it says select a microphone.
Okay,
And I'm not sure what you have clicked. You probably have your headset on there.
yeah. Oh, same system. Okay, what about this? Can you still hear me?
No, that's worse.
Staticky.
Let me see. Can you?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, but it's still staticky.
What about now? Is it better now?
That's better.
Okay, what if I did speakers same as system?
Yeah, I would
Oh,
try.
wait a-
You could try that because you really want your computer. You want it to be the computer audio.
Wait, can you say that again? Could you say that again?
Yeah, like if you click on where it says select the speaker, does it have like headphones or can you see what's checked?
Yeah, so I just checked same as system.
Okay.
Let me try sharing my screen and doing that again. All right, here we go. We're gonna try this one more time. Can you hear it?
No, it's too.
God dang!
Too low.
We're trying, guys. I swear. All right.
Try click. Did you click on where it says select a speaker? Is that what you just did? You just changed those two?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to see where audio settings are down at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
I'm looking through the options on that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know
wait,
what?
I was just doing a dumb. By the way, did you guys know that if you go to screen share, if you go to the options bar, it's like more info or something. You can do the computer's sound. It's on the bottom left.
Wait, for real? What the heck?
Yeah, actually.
Wait, okay, let me try this. So you said screen share, advanced sharing options. Wait, you say that again? Hello?
Yo, oh. Cool. I was muted. So if you like press screen share, then, or at least on all the ones I've done, and just in the bottom left, there should be something that says like share computer audio or something.
Oh, dude, you're so right. Yeah, that works. All right, we've been saved. Thank you.
Both teams will receive the same points. Each of these teams consists of 2 drivers.
Is it working?
Yes.
Yo, we did it!
Good work, Owen. Good work.
Good job. That's teamwork right there. Plus 5 points. I don't know what these points mean, but you can have 5 of them.
Yes.
Dang, where's the chat? Oh man, I think I lost the chat. Whatever. It's okay. We're gonna keep watching the video.
And 1 robot. 1 driver will operate the robot for the first half of the match, and the other driver will operate it for the second half.
Second, each team will have the opportunity to play driving skills challenge matches. In these matches, teams have 60 seconds of driver-controlled time to score as many points as possible.
Third, each team will have the opportunity to play programming skills challenge matches, in which they have 60 seconds of autonomous robot operation to score points. No drivers allowed.
The VEX IQ Challenge Squared Away is played on a 4-foot by 8-foot field. Robots and game objects start on the field in predetermined positions. There are scoring zones in the 4 corners of the field and 3 platforms along the sides of the field. Be sure to double-check the robot and starting position rules this year, as they may not be the same as previous VEX IQ Challenge games.
The scoring objects in VEX IQ Challenge Squared Away are 3-inch diameter balls and 7-inch cubes. There are a total total of 35 balls and 7 cubes on the field.
The object of the game is to score as many points as possible with your alliance partner in one of 2 ways: by scoring balls in or on cubes, and by moving cubes to their associated scoring zones.
A ball scored inside a cube is worth 1 point each. A ball scored on top of a cube is worth 2 points each. Teams will have to experiment with balls and cubes to figure out the best way to score points here.
A red or blue cube scored in the same color scoring zone is worth 10 points. And a green cube scored on a platform is worth 20 points.
Cubes and balls are scored independently of each other. So, if a robot places 3 balls on top of a cube, that alliance has just earned 6 points. Then, if they score that cube in a scoring zone, they've just earned 10 more points. That's a total of 16 points.
For official robot requirements and game rules for VEX IQ Challenge Squared Away, please see the VEX IQ Challenge Game Manual found at roboticseducation.org and...
All right, we all heard that, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So it's time, guys. All right, I downloaded this cool little thing so I can draw. So we're now gonna like start annotating the game, right? So
Zoom already has an annotator built in.
what's up? Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Bruh. I definitely should have attended the training.
Lol.
Well, I downloaded this app, so I'm gonna use it anyway. Video. I apologize. I'm using my mouse to like write right now. I don't have a tablet, so it's gonna be that way. So what did we notice during that video? Like just from looking at it. And here I'll pull up like a what the heck? I will pull up the game manual so we can look at the field. What did we notice? Just like go ahead and share with me what you saw and noticed. Yes. Ooh. Sonia? Win?
Okay, maybe that the blue and red cubes are on opposite sides.
Okay, so that's important. We now know that we have to like the cubes are on opposite sides.
By the way, are you supposed to be seeing your annotated thing?
Oh, you can't see my annotated thing?
No, not right now.
Oh man.
No, I think I know what's happening. Basically what's happening. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So like if you think about it, right, what that means to us is that on that field, and can you see the game? I have to like change it every time. That's kind of interesting. Oh, okay, screen. We're just gonna do that. Cool. So if you see that, right, that's really big. That means that what we have is we have to go across the field to get these points. So those points aren't going to be easy for us to get to. And that also means that we're going to have to clean up that middle area before we can cross, right? Unless we want to hit everything on the way there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So just from looking at the video, you got that idea of strategy. Go ahead, Owen.
Maybe there's like a really dumb thing that you can do where you just pick up the red thing and then it feels like cheating because you can move it over to the other area and no one likes that strategy. So why'd anyone do it?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Nothing.
What are you talking about?
Oof.
I'm just mad because there's a dumb strategy where you picked up the red thing and technically it was legal to just move it over to where the red scoring area was. To like right above the blue, as long as you don't touch the blue and it's not touching the scoring area, and then you just move the bot over to the scoring area and just shove it in, and it's really dumb.
Interesting. So I mean, and that's a good thing to notice is like there are a lot of different strategies you can do. What is something else somebody noticed? Okay, so I'll share something I noticed, right? So just kind of listening to what they said and then looking at the field, notice how all the piles of balls are in stacks of 4. So being in stacks of 4 and there only being 35 balls, there are also 7 cubes, right? So what that means is on those 7 cubes, we can easily put 5 balls per cube. What that tells me is that it is not worth designing something that puts the balls inside the cubes because we can fit all the balls on top of them, right? So we've got like stacks of 4. And what that also means is we're going to have to do a little bit of extra work and find like one more ball to pick up. So we can't just pick up a stack, put it on the cube, right? We want to pick up a stack and one extra ball from somewhere before we get the cube. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. Yes, thumbs up. Awesome. But yeah, so we can see that there's stacks of 4, and that means that, you know, with 35 balls and 7 cubes, that number fits so perfectly. That means the game is telling us that that needs to happen, right? We can maximize our points by putting all the balls on the cubes, right? So that's another thing we've noticed. Is there anything else someone's noticed? Well, something I noticed was the cubes only have the little like cross on the top of them. They don't have that supporting platform on more than one side of them. And what that means is if I build a robot, I need to make sure my robot doesn't roll the cubes. It has to be able to pick the cube up and keep it in the orientation it starts with, right? Or else I'm not going to be able to put the balls on top of them. So that's really important. That I build a robot that like effectively picks them up.
The issue with that is that some of the green cubes, I think the outer 2 start cross down and the inner one starts cross up.
Interesting. I did not notice that.
So you do have to rotate at least 2 of the cubes so the cross is up.
You have 7 piles of balls and 5 cubes where the cross section is facing upwards.
Yes.
So you have a limit, or at least not a limit, but you're at least limited how many stacks of balls you can immediately place on a cube.
Yeah. So here's like really cool things to notice from the game, right? We haven't even played a few games, but now we already know what limitations exist in our design and what our design has to account for. So with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stacks, 2, 4, 6, 8 stacks of 4 already, we know that one of those stacks is going to kind of have to be cannibalized for the other stacks to get 5 balls on top of them, right?
Also, it appears that there's little out juts from each of the platforms, so you probably won't be able to just ram the ball up against the platform and then, or not the ball, ram the cube up against the platform and then lift it up. You're going to have to lift it up beforehand. Yeah.
So, okay, another great point, right? So our robot needs to be able to pick up before we get there and kind of skillfully maneuver around there. So that's a great idea. All right. So, and I'll go ahead and jot that down. So stacks 4, I guess they're stacks of 4, and we have 8 of them. And we have to, for the platform, we have to kind of lift to avoid the little jutting out things, right? I don't know, juts. We're gonna go with that. But yeah, so that's a really good point to make. So we have hit 5 o'clock. So I mean, we can keep pressing on. Technically, the session does end now. That's at your discretion. If you want, if you want to leave now, or if you have to, that's fine. You guys can like go ahead. Probably we'll be like done with all the content that I have around like 5:15. This session is being recorded. Let me double check. Let me verify that. I'm pretty sure it's being recorded. Yeah, I'm like 85% sure it's being recorded. So
it's recorded. So yeah.
Perfect. Lance, is this recording available to people after this?
Yes, we're going to try to load it up on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. So if you have to leave now, it's no problem. This will be available. But yeah, so that's really good that we've kind of gotten that understanding from just looking at the game. And what we can now do is some math, right? So let's look at our point values. Oh, wait, here it is. So we've got 1, 2, 10, and 20 as the different point options, right? So if we draw a line here, points. we're looking at 1 to 2 points for balls, right? And then we've got 10 points times 4. And I guess this is times like 35 because they're 35 balls. 10 points times 4 for the cubes. And we've got 20 points times 3 for the cubes. So as of total, right? So the least amount of points we can get from the balls is 35. The most we can get is 70. From cubes, the ones on the ground at least, we can get an easy, smooth 40 points off that. We can also get a smooth 60 off the ones on top, right? Did I miss anything there? I believe that is it. So now we kind of get into the math of this, right? If we look at our maximum points, the maximum amount of points we have, that's going to be 1 that we score all the cubes on the 70 points. We're now going to figure out, what is the most important. It says I'm lagging out, so I'm going to slow down my talking. But yeah. So out of 170 points, we know that 60 of them come from putting the cubes on the pedestals. Ooh, come on. What's going on? Chat. Where's the chat? It was here a second ago. It says I'm getting a chat, but I cannot check. We'll find it, don't worry. But yes, so there it is. Okay, yeah, I'm lagging out. Oh man. All right, but yes. So out of 170 points, 60 come from just these cubes, right? Just those cubes. If we're talking straight point percentages, 60 out of 170 is 35% of all the points. 35%, right? So if we just put the cubes, like if that's all we do, if we spend our entire time playing just those cubes, then we've only got 35% of the points. And if we do that across 60 seconds, then we're getting about 1.7 points per second or so. No, wait, that's 1 point per second. I'm just dumb. But yeah, 1.7% per second. No. Either way, point being is we're only getting 35% of the points there. Now 35, that's kind of that's kind of a lot, right? But if you look at that on top, if you look at this though, with 35 balls, we get 70 points. And 70 out of 170 gets us 41%. What that has just showed us is that there are more points in doing all the balls than doing just the cubes. So we know that if we're playing a game, the balls are definitely worth it. We need to make sure that we're, paying attention to where they are and trying to put them there because they're worth 41% of all the points. Getting 40 out of 170 points with the ones on the ground are worth about 23%, which is 40 over 170. I apologize. I did not give myself enough space to write that, but yes, 40 out of 170. That's 23%. So if we look at all of that, we could, if we're having a match and that match is a really, really bad match, then we can make the decision. What do we give up? To me, it kind of looks like if we're having a bad match, we would give up this 23%, right? Because this 23% right here is the smallest percentage of points I can get. If I'm having a match and we're firing on all cylinders, that's fine. I can get all 100% of the points. But if I'm having a match where something goes wrong, maybe the first thing I want to give up is putting the cubes on the ground goal zone, right? But now you have to realize that there is a difficulty affiliated with getting all these points because although it is 23% and 23 is less than 41, maybe it's a lot easier to get the 23% than the 41%. And so this is kind of a thing you're going to have to play with throughout the course of the season and throughout doing those like mental games where you kind of walk through the game, is looking at, you know, although the 23% is a small amount, maybe it's super easy to get because all you have to do is push the cube, right? And so maybe our alliance partner, maybe all they can do is push cubes. So even though the 21% is less than the 41%, it might still be advantageous to get that 23%. Does that make sense? So looking at things like that and doing the math behind that will show us how much how much all the points are really worth and help us like guide our strategic picks. If I were to look at this math and design a robot, I would say that the most important thing to do is, you know, getting a robot that can pick up the cubes and getting a robot that can put all the balls on the cubes. I don't care about pushing the cubes into their goal zone because I'm going to have an alliance partner, right? And if I'm gambling or if I'm guessing, I would say that my alliance partner has at least 2 wheels. And at least 2 wheels is enough to push cubes, right? So I would say, hey, my job is to be the best robot I can be. And if my robot can get 35% and 41%, I'm easily doing 76% of all the points in the game, right? That means even when you're in these scenarios of having a partner that might not be the best, you can at least score the most amount of points possible, right? Now let's say that your alliance partner is kind of okay. Let's say that they can kind of do some pushing and they can get us maybe, you know, 10% of that 23%. Then that still means we scored plus 10. That still means we scored 86% of all the points possible. That's still a really good place to be, right? So that's how we like can make these decisions. Does that make sense to you guys? Are you guys like following that?
Yeah.
Any objections to that? We're kind of all on the page here. Cool. Yeah. So that's kind of what that means, right? And so what I want to do now is kind of walk through an example of when people are firing on all cylinders and when people are not firing all cylinders. So go here. Oh no, lag. Dang the lag. How did I move this bar? Oh, I can move that bar. Oh my god, that's great. So I want this video. We're gonna look at this video. You guys might have already seen it, but we're gonna watch it again, and we're gonna, after it's done, analyze it, right? Or maybe even live. So can you guys see my screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go ahead and watch. And I don't need voice in this scenario. So what we can notice right off the bat, right, is they're getting those balls in stacks of 5. So that's really important. That's something we noticed earlier, saying that the balls are very important because they are worth like 41% of all points. Boom.
Wait, can you
stacks of 5.
Can you slow down the video just a little bit because?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's it.
All right, cool. So if we look at it, right, we now have a stack of 5 on top of that green one going in. So that robot is committing to getting part of the 40% and part of that other like 30% to get most of the points. What you'll also notice is that these robots are specifically designed to pick up 5 cubes at a time. You know, they're not designed to get 1, 2, 6, whatever. 5 is the number it needs because that's the number that can easily go on a stack. What that means is the robot was designed in mind with getting all the points on the cubes and not a single extra cube to be picked up, because that's just a waste of picking up a cube, right? Or excuse me, picking up a ball, because you can't put 6 balls on a cube. So you now see they cleared up the middle first, like we were talking about. Once the middle is clear, there's a significantly like higher chance of you crossing that without running into somebody. And so, okay, we grab our balls so we can put them on top of the cubes. We've got the 2 reds getting ready to go across and the 2 blues getting ready. He's picking up the last set of balls and then he's about to pick up the cube on top of that. What you'll notice is the red one is now kind of going behind the blue one as to not get in its way and actively moving out of the way. That's really important when you're working with a team to understand that you don't want to get in their way and you want to make sure that, you know, you score all the points, but you work together to do so. So this is a great example of kind of getting that teamwork. And with their kind of strategy in mind of getting, all the balls and stacks of 5 and clearing up the middle first, they were able to get all the points. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take that as yes. And we're going to watch one more video and then we're going to wrap it up. So in this example, what we'll see is a robot that has a partner that might not be the best, but they still make good use of their time. And I'm also going to put this on 0.5 speed so we can kind of watch it. No, not autoplay. There we go. But yeah, so what we'll notice is they go for the same strategy, which is picking up the green cubes and putting them on. What you should also notice is the robot on the right side is having a bit of a tough time doing that. That is probably something that the Alliance already knew before beginning that match, right? If you look at the robot, or if you kind of like ask them how their robot might do, they might be able to tell you how rough of a time they're having. So with that in mind, that one robot is now stuck on that green cube. Their Alliance partner is also now just stuck having to do the rest of the work, right? Until that robot gets freed. You'll notice that they're not trying to get the balls in this scenario, which is a really good move from them because, although they can't really get the ball, although their Alliance partner is stuck, they're spending the most amount of time getting the easiest points they can. So like we said, the cubes are only worth a minority of the points. Like, what did we say? Like 30% or whatever we said. They're still focusing on that because they know they can get those a lot easier than the balls, right? So in this scenario, they have an Alliance partner that's not the best, but they're still going to be able to put up points. And so they're letting the Alliance partner do their own thing. They're putting the cubes in where they go, and they're still going to get, a good amount of points off of that. All right, robot seems to be stuck. So, they're going to put their cube there. They're going to wait. And instead of trying to ram behind the other robot to get that blue cube in there, they're going to put their blue cube down, even though they already had it in their hand, because the green cube is worth more points, right? And in this tight time scenario, they have to kind of play with what they have. They kind of just realize that, hey, we're not going to get any of the red cubes on because our Alliance partner is not working. That's fine. Let's press forward and see what we can do in this scenario. Does that make sense? So this is a good example of like kind of overcoming a kind of a tough lineup for you where you would not be able to fire and get all the points you possibly want. Does that make sense? That would be an example of like having a plan B.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we are out of time now. So, thank you so much for joining me in this this session. No matter how kind of confusing and or not confusing it was, we still had a good time, and I do appreciate how do I stop shit? Oh my God. Well, I do appreciate you guys being here and, trying it out with me. I think it was a great experience to work with you guys. And, if you got to leave, that's fine. If not, I can hang around for a few extra minutes to answer any questions you might have. But yeah, that's kind of it for me, guys. So yeah. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Later. All right. Anyone have any questions I can answer? It's cool. We don't have to. Perhaps. No? Michael, you got anything to say?
No.
All right, cool.
Seemed fine.
Cool, Oscar, you have a good experience?
Yep, it was good.
Chris, did I miss anything?
No, thank you. It was really great.
No problem. Yeah. Hopefully it was like kind of helpful. Like I like looked at it when I like did a little pre before this thing because I normally don't do a lot of IQ, but it definitely seems like there's a lot to go on behind.
Stop
IQ.
the recording.
I definitely should. Yo, Lance, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Good idea. Yeah, someone would have to edit this out.